The world outside was a blur of white as the winter storm raged in full force, its icy tendrils clinging to every window and roof. Inside the small, cozy animal clinic, however, the atmosphere was one of hope and anticipation. The vet, Dr. Emily Pierce, was no stranger to the quiet chaos of her profession. She had witnessed countless deliveries, some routine, some difficult, but none like this. It was a night that would stick with her for the rest of her career. A call had come in just before the snowstorm reached its peak, a distressed voice on the other end. "Please, my dog is in labor, and I don't know what to do. She's struggling, and I'm terrified she's not going to make it." Emily had only a few minutes to gather her supplies, knowing that a delayed response could mean the difference between life and death. With only a few hours left before the clinic would be buried under a blanket of snow, she quickly slipped into her coat and boots. Her breath clouded in the cold as she dashed to her car, the urgency of the call pushing her to drive faster despite the worsening weather. Upon arrival, she was greeted by the frantic owner, a woman named Lisa, whose eyes were filled with both fear and concern. The moment she saw Emily, she nearly collapsed in relief. "My poor Daisy. She's in so much pain. Please help her," Lisa pleaded, wringing her hands together as she led Emily to the back room. Inside the room, a large golden retriever lay on a soft, padded bed, her eyes wide with pain. Daisy, as Emily learned, had been going into labor for hours, but the puppies were coming slowly and with great difficulty. Daisy was exhausted, her breathing shallow and quick, and Emily could see the signs of distress. "Okay, Daisy, you're a brave girl," Emily said softly, her voice gentle as she approached the dog. Daisy whined slightly but seemed to draw comfort from Emily's calm presence. "We need to get you comfortable, sweetheart," Emily murmured, setting up her equipment with practiced hands. She knew that while the situation was urgent, there was no room for panic. She needed to be steady for both Daisy and Lisa. Emily explained to Lisa that while it was not uncommon for a dog to have multiple puppies, the fact that Daisy had been in labor for so long without delivering more than a few indicated that things weren't progressing as they should. With a reassuring nod, she set to work. As she carefully examined Daisy, Emily felt a surge of concern. It wasn't just 1 or 2 puppies that Daisy was carrying. No, there were at least 11 little lives inside her, all struggling to make their way into the world. 11. Emily's heart raced for a moment. It was a daunting number, but she had seen it before, in rare cases, and knew that it wasn't impossible. What mattered now was making sure Daisy stayed strong enough to bring them all into the world safely. "Lisa, it looks like Daisy is having a litter of 11 puppies. We'll need to move quickly, but I think she's strong enough to do this. I'm going to help her through it," Emily explained, her voice calm but resolute. Lisa's face drained of color as she stared at Daisy, her beloved dog struggling to stay calm. 11, she whispered. "That's a lot." Emily smiled gently. "I know, but dogs are strong. We've got this. Just stay close to her. You're her support too." The labor continued, and Daisy's whines grew louder, echoing through the small room. Emily worked swiftly but gently, guiding the puppies into the world one by one. There was no time for hesitation. Each puppy needed to be pulled carefully from Daisy's body, their tiny bodies slippery and fragile. Emily's hands moved with the skill and precision of someone who had done this many times before, but there was a quiet awe in her eyes. Each puppy that was born was a miracle, each one deserving of a chance at life. As the first puppy emerged, a tiny, squirming bundle of fur, Emily held it in her hands, her heart skipping a beat. It was a moment of triumph, but the work wasn't done. She quickly cleared its airway, gently rubbed it to stimulate its breathing, and then placed it on Daisy's chest. "That's it, Daisy. You're doing great," Emily whispered, her voice soothing. Daisy's eyes flicked toward the tiny puppy, and for a brief moment she seemed to forget her own pain, focusing instead on the life that had just entered the world. But soon another puppy came, and then another. The pattern was exhausting but familiar: labor, birth, and then a brief moment of rest before the next little life arrived. The room was filled with the quiet sounds of birth, the soft cries of the newborns, and Daisy's labored breathing. As the hours passed, the storm outside intensified, but inside the clinic, there was a strange sense of peace amidst the chaos. Daisy, despite her exhaustion, seemed to find strength in the process, her body working tirelessly to bring each of her 11 puppies into the world. She was a warrior. By the time the final puppy emerged, it was well past midnight. Daisy's body was drained, her fur matted with sweat and blood, but her eyes were filled with a quiet sense of pride. 11 little lives were now scattered around her, nursing from her exhausted body, their tiny bodies wriggling and moving as they sought warmth and comfort. Emily sat back for a moment, wiping the sweat from her brow. Her work wasn't over yet. She needed to make sure Daisy and her puppies were all healthy, but for now, there was a moment of triumph. 11 puppies. It was a rare and beautiful thing, and it was a testament to the strength of both mother and vet. Lisa stood nearby, tears in her eyes, as she watched her dog tend to her puppies. "I can't believe it," she whispered. 11. I never thought it would happen. Emily smiled and nodded. "It's a rare occurrence, but it's something truly special. Daisy is an incredible mom, and you're an incredible owner. You both did this together." The next few hours were spent ensuring Daisy was recovering well, checking each of the puppies to make sure they were all breathing properly and receiving the nutrients they needed from their mother. Emily's hands moved with practiced care as she made sure everything was in order. As the morning light finally began to filter through the clinic's windows, the storm outside had subsided, leaving behind a thick blanket of snow. Inside, however, there was a new life, one that had just begun in the most miraculous way. 11 tiny puppies, each with their own unique markings and personalities, squirmed and nuzzled around their mother, who lay exhausted but content, her gaze soft and affectionate as she watched over them. Lisa sat beside her dog, her hand resting gently on Daisy's head. "I don't know how to thank you, Dr. Pierce. You saved her. You saved all of them." Emily smiled, exhausted but fulfilled. "You don't need to thank me. It's my job. But I'm glad I could be here for this moment. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience to witness a birth like this." As she gathered her things to leave, Emily glanced at the little family one last time. Daisy was settling down with her puppies, the storm outside now nothing more than a distant memory. The clinic, once filled with tension and worry, now held only the soft, rhythmic sounds of a mother's love. It was in that quiet moment that Emily realized why she did what she did. It wasn't just about the science, the knowledge, or the skill. It was about the connection between a mother and her babies, the bond that transcended words. And it was about being there, in that sacred space, when life began in all its beautiful chaos. As Emily stepped into the cold winter air, the snowflakes falling gently around her, she knew she had witnessed something extraordinary. It was a reminder of the resilience and strength that existed in the world, both in animals and in humans. It was a night that would stay with her forever, and she would always remember the story of Daisy and her 11 puppies, a testament to the beauty of life, no matter how fragile or fleeting.